Funding for the Lazy Bedhead channel was provided by viewers like you. Thank you.
Previously on the Lazy Pinhead show.
First of all, let's just get this out of the way. Okay, anyways.
Oh wait, that wasn't right. Fuck.
Inferno was the first in the franchise to get a direct-to-video release, and the start of the second era of Hellraiser movies, the 2000s direct-to-video era. Hellraiser was no longer a franchise that MiraMax wanted to take a risk on anymore ever since Bloodline, for good reason, which is confusing because this movie was made on a $4 million budget and made back $9 million. But that's not really a lot when you think about it. The original Hellraiser had a budget of $1 million and made $14.6 million back. That is 14 times the budget. And sure, $9 million is a little over double, but it was also critically panned. So it would be hard to convince an audience to want to double that budget again. To put it into perspective, out of all of the Hellraiser movies that were in a theater, Hellraiser 4 was the least profitable. All the other Hellraisers made well over $10 million easy, which, adjusted for inflation nowadays, would have been $38 million, whereas $9 million's only like $17 million, so that's 44% less. So by this point, Hellraiser movies were either sent straight to DVD, only got one screening in a theater, or went straight to streaming. Either way, from here on out, the legacy of these movies would slowly derail. But despite that, I actually really liked Inferno.
We never see you again. We don't.
Come get it, Granny! She gone!
A lot of people hate this movie, and I don't really know why. I think a part of the reason is because the world of the Cenobites and Pinhead's role is completely changed again. Remember when I talked about the religious aspects of Hellraiser and how misinterpreted they became when entangled with Catholicism? Well, this movie goes completely in the direction of Pinhead being like the head torturer of horrible people, and the realm of the Cenobites is just basically hell. And I said earlier that this completely misses the point as to what the Cenobites are supposed to represent, with the exception of this movie. I don't think it's done terribly, and the reason why is because the Cenobites have become a form of psychological horror. All the religious elements are not necessarily to change the Cenobites' role, but rather to create a psychological horror experience. And that is one thing I think Hellraiser needs to be, a psychological horror akin to the Evil Dead movies. That's sort of what the first and second Hellraiser movies were, up until the third movie where it just became like edgy Jesus symbolism and Pinhead in space. This movie brings us back to that feeling of psychological horror that the originals had, and it does this by making the mass majority of the movie take place in the main character's own personal hell, unleashed by messing with the box. What this movie does is basically take that one scene in Hellraiser 2 where Kirsty is experiencing like this weird hell-like version of her childhood home, and just makes this the entire fucking movie. And I think it's pretty awesome. So let's talk about it. This is Detective Joseph Thorne. All you need to know about him is that he is a massive prick. He is a dirty cop who cheats on his wife with a prostitute, frames his partner at crime scenes to blackmail him into letting him get away with shit that he's not supposed to.
Where's your pen? Your pen? The one with your initials on it? The one that your wife gave you?
I don't know.
Oh. That's right, it's probably at the crime lab by now. Forensics picked it up. You left it at the scene. And that, last pack of cigarettes you smoked, the one with your fingerprints all over the wrapper, you left your smokes there too, Tony. You came to me, remember?
I what?
Yeah. Yeah, 'cause you fucked some whore. And holy shit, found her dead the next morning. And you asked me to help you wipe the place clean to cover your tracks. And I should never have done it. But as anyone knows, I am nothing if not a loyal partner. You have 2 years in the precinct. Who do you think they're gonna believe, me or you? Especially considering all the evidence.
You fucking scumbag. You planned it? You fucked me and you planned this?
No, nobody is gonna get fucked. You see, that is the beauty of it. When the crime lab files its report, I'll tell the captain that you were shaken up by what we found at the scene. You know, I saw you have a smoke and touch a few things before you put on the gloves. It's a simple mistake. I will take care of you. Just had to cover my ass.
He uses an excessive amount of police brutality, and he does coke all the time.
1 new vape, 2 lines of coke, 3 drinks from the bar, 4 more lines of coke.
There's this narration throughout of him like commentating on his skills as a detective and how he's just so good at solving riddles and puzzles.
Even as a little kid, I was always one to examine things closely. The world was full of riddles and mysteries and puzzles. And I learned early on that I had a gift for solving them.
Hence why he's a cop. He's assigned to a case that is oddly close to him in some ways. For instance, the victim of this investigation is someone he went to school with. At the crime scene is the familiar lament configuration that Joe pockets for himself.
He was real odd. It's kind of quiet. Didn't really seem to have any friends. One year, he tried out for the basketball team. What a nightmare. He tortured the shit out of him until he quit.
What'd you do to him?
He gave him hell.
Okay, so you're just a massive bully then, alright. Add that to the crimes you've committed. Throughout the film, Joseph is constantly portrayed as someone you kinda want to see be tortured by Pinhead. I mean, he cheats on his wife with a prostitute, and he excuses it by saying this.
Most men just leave. I know that would kill her. But if she doesn't know, if doing this keeps me coming back, then who is to say what's right and what's wrong?
Jesus Christ, you are such an asshole! During his night of debauchery, he solves the puzzle box in the bathroom, and from this moment forward, the entire sequence of events to follow is Joseph living his own personal hell. He doesn't go through the weird labyrinth hallways in the last movies, he just has his reality fucked by Pinhead, who takes up the name of the Engineer. Which is interesting because the Engineer was this thing. But I guess this approach to the idea of the Engineer is a lead figurehead that sorta acts like an urban legend of sorts. Which makes more sense as it canonically was treated the same way in the book. One by one, people closest to Thorn start dropping like flies. Starting with this prostitute that he fucked, his snitch who... honestly, he might be a pedophile.
How young?
She's over 18. Probably a little old for you.
Hey, so can you tell that this script was approved of by Harvey Weinstein? Fuck. Then his parents die, his wife and kid dies, his partner dies, and then he kills himself.
No! Don't do that!
Psych! And why are all of his loved ones and people closest to him dying? Well, it's because this entire case is basically Joseph's version of hell, a concept that was introduced in the second movie. Each person that enters into the domain of the Cenobites experiences their own little world that tortures them psychologically instead of physically. And for Joseph here, his psychological torture is being set up for murder and watching all of his friends and family die. Along with the dead bodies is a commonality of fingers being left behind, which motivates Joe to try and stop the murderer and save the child. What Joe doesn't know is not only do the fingerprints somehow match his own, but also, he was the killer the whole time. Which doesn't make sense until you realize that this whole thing, ever since he solved the box in that motel bathroom, is just Joseph suffering some version of hell. And he kinda deserves it because he sucks. And it's so satisfying to see him suffer. Although I'm not sure if his wife and kid needed to die in the process of that. Or maybe they didn't die. Maybe none of this is actually happening. That's kind of why I love this movie, because it makes you really hound in and question what is and isn't real. Does his family die on the Pillar of Souls, or did he just imagine that whole thing? While while sleeping on the floor of his motel bathroom? Did he actually shoot himself, or is he stuck in his childhood home forever? The whole concept of this movie is just Pinhead fucking with this one guy in particular. I also really liked Craig Sheffer as Joseph Thorne. I think he actually did a pretty decent job. He also was in Nightbreed, so he's been a part of Clive Barker adjacent projects before. It's just kind of a shame that he doesn't get more work because he's really not awful in this. The only other thing that I recognize from his acting credits is Code of Honor with Steven Seagal. Oh, Jesus Christ, you poor man. I think what I enjoyed most about this movie is that it's like a mystery crime thriller. Not that the plot twist is really that well executed. I just think after 4 movies, it's really nice that the police finally acknowledge that, like, the box exists. Cause, like, otherwise, where the fuck were the cops in Hellraiser 3? Like, Joey had to haul ass for all of y'all. One of the mysteries of this movie is finding out who the engineer is. The engineer is presumably the one behind all the killings, but also he seems to be some kind of urban legend that everyone is spooked by. Basically, the engineer is like Fight Club, where you don't talk about Fight Club, and apparently you don't go looking for Fight Club, otherwise Fight Club's coming after you. There's this really weird subversion of expectations, where Joe gets a lead that the engineer might be at this cowboy bar. Don't make the joke, don't make the joke, don't make the joke, don't make the joke.
18 naked cowboys in the showers at Ram Ranch.
I'm so sorry, I had to. He goes there and talks to this guy, who apparently is really well acquainted with the engineer. And just when he's about to leave, there he is. The Slender Man.
I'm the Shadow Man. I sneak and I creep.
This scene is fucking hilarious because he gets beat up by Kung Fu cowboys. This is a real thing that happens in a Hellraiser movie. Of course, you can't talk about any Hellraiser movie without talking about the Cenobites. Aside from Slender Man here being a figment of Joe's imagination, we have the Wire Twins. This is another one of those where I feel like it would fit in between these pretty well. Yeah, see... Guys, I love the behind-the-scenes photos of any Hellraiser movie. I absolutely do, because this is the stupidest fucking thing I've ever seen in my life. I'm not a huge fan of their design, really. I think I would need to be super drunk in order to do it.
You know who this motherfucker look like, low-key? Lord!
Do you see it? Hold on. The curve? The curve. Honestly, they just look like they're here for a good time. And then there's this version of the Chatterer that is appropriately called Torso. What's interesting is that after the death of the original Chatterer, each Hellraiser has been trying to make like a new version of the Chatterer. There was also like the dog in Bloodline, and now there's this guy who crawls around on the floor. But shockingly, Pinhead isn't as prominent in this movie as you would think. Like, in comparison to the last few movies, I'm used to seeing him for like the mass majority of the runtime, and in here, he's only in like 3 scenes, and that's really it. And like, I'm not even really complaining because his presence is still felt throughout the entire movie, especially given the twist that he was the therapist the whole time. This feels rather clunky to like introduce this one dude with like a total of 2 scenes as like the main villain, but like, I don't know, I think it works pretty well. I think the people behind this one really did think about what they were putting together, and I think it has a lot more thought and care for it than people give it credit for. The only reason I would think that this is rated so low is probably because not a lot of people have seen it, but also because, like, to be perfectly honest, it feels like parts of this movie is just like, it feels like Hellraiser is like a secondary plot to the movie, you know what I mean? Like, it's sort of related, like the engineer is like the main suspect and everything, and he's just Pinhead the whole time, right? So like, it's kind of essential, but like it kind of takes a back seat. It kind of feels like they took Hellraiser and like shoehorned it into like a mystery crime thriller for some reason. Like, I'm sure if you took Pinhead out of the story, it would just be like a normal ass like buddy cop movie. Also, apparently Clive Barker hated it also, which, you know, would have probably impacted people's opinions on seeing it. But in my personal opinion, I actually kind of liked it. I don't know what the fuck this was though. So let me explain to you like how I script things and review these movies. So basically, the research process, you know, right? I watch the movie, and sometimes I'll take notes if I really, like, don't know what the fuck is going on. And I'm, like, slowly forgetting things. So I take notes just so I remember. I didn't take notes for this one, and I just kind of watched it as is. And then I had to watch it again because I completely forgot what the fuck just happened. And then I took the notes the second time around, and all I have for Hellraiser Hellseeker is this. Yeah, I don't know what the fuck happened. Hellraiser Hellseeker is the 6th installment in the Hellraiser franchise. And this one takes the cake so far because, at the very least, I could describe what the fuck was going on in Bloodline. Here, don't ask me. Just don't. Like, I can't, you know? What this movie tries to do is be a mystery where everything is told out of order, and you have to kind of put the pieces together as you go, because our main character has amnesia or something. This movie has Ashley Lawrence coming back to reprise her role as Kirsty Cotton. And if you think for a second that this was gonna reel me back in, it doesn't, because we immediately watch her die in a car accident. This movie shows us a sequence of events that would make you believe that the story is pretty open and close. Kirsty and this guy Trevor get distracted while driving, he swerves, they drive the car off into a lake, Kirsty drowns, he survives. Got it, okay. But actually, no, because Kirsty's body was never recovered, so she's considered missing? But Trevor just keeps telling everyone that his wife died, so I don't know what the fuck that's about. And it becomes this whole mystery as to what happened to Kirsty. Did she drown? Did she not drown? What the hell is going on with Trevor? Why is he having all of these weird headaches and nightmares of things that seemingly are not happening? But then later find out they actually were happening, actually. Basically, you know the concept in Hellraiser Inferno where Joseph is like, he opens the box and now he's suffering like his own interpersonal hell? Well, Hellseeker was like, let's do that, except let's never tell the audience what is going on. Let's also not tell the audience who the fuck these guys are. Like, seriously, what the fuck are these people? Because characters are just kind of introduced into this movie as if we're supposed to know who they are, and I just don't. There's this one scene where Trevor answers the door, and there's just this girl who's standing there showing off her belly button trans stamp, as if I'm supposed to know who this is and what is going on. Oh, actually, wait, I misunderstood. It's silly me. This movie is actually, like, thematic genius. You know why? It's because the reason why I am so confused is because Trevor is so confused because he's got amnesia. The watching experience of this movie is like I'm supposed to be suffering with amnesia. I get it, movie. That's so clever. The movie is confusing because to the character and the audience, it's supposed to be confusing on purpose. Got it. Also, I barely really know anything about Trevor, like, as a character. I know from the other movies generally, like, what's going on with our main leads, but with Trevor, I have no fucking idea, like, who he is or what the fuck he's doing. Like, I guess he was somebody who was, like, married to Kirsty, and, like, he's an asshole, but that's it. Like, I knew who Kirsty was. She was the girl who was trying to save her father from the Cenobites and this whole weird hellbox thing. I know who Joey was. She's got fucking dream powers, and her dad is dead or something. I knew who Joseph was. I knew him very well. I don't know a fucking thing about Trevor. The only thing I learned about Trevor as a person is that he cheats on Kirsty a lot, and he was apparently dead the whole movie. Oh, I'm sorry. Did you miss that? Here, let me say that again. He is a corpse. Okay, so let me try to explain how we got to this point. Trevor and Kirsty have been married for years, but Trevor is a major scumbag. He cheats on Kirsty with his boss and the neighbor and this masseuse, I think. He also plots to kill Kirsty with his work buddy, Brett, and take the inheritance that was left behind by her father. Also, he goes to some, like, underground salesman and buys the lament configuration as a gift to Kirsty for their anniversary? which is probably fucking traumatizing and a terrible gift. And by the way, Trevor gifting the puzzle box has nothing to do with the other two things I just mentioned. I mean, like, it kind of does, because the salesman basically is like, you want your wife out of the picture? You can give her this box. It'll solve the problem. So he does. And basically it's revealed throughout the whole movie that he was secretly trying to kill his wife, because I guess he's just such an asshole. So yeah, overall, terrible fucking person. But he doesn't remember being a bad person because the car crash made his brain go stupid. And now he doesn't remember all of the bad shit he did. You know what I noticed? In both Inferno and in this movie, Pinhead not only just says like, fuck this guy in particular, but also they are both cheating assholes. I don't know, maybe the Hell Priest is like starting like a cheater exposing YouTube channel or something. Yo, what's up YouTube? It's me, Pinhead. Welcome back to Cheaters Exposed. Today, we're exposing Trevor and Joseph for cheating on their wives. Yeah, like and subscribe. Pinhead fucks with the lack of memory by making Trevor think that the people around him are dying, but then they are magically found alive again. So he thinks he's going crazy, but then their bodies are just photographed and placed into evidence. So all of this apparently did actually happen. Pinhead really be out here being the greatest fucking gaslighter of all time. So basically Trevor is being accused of murder and has no memory of any of this happening, except he kind of does because he hallucinates everything, but then he believes that it wasn't real, so he just dismisses it. I don't know, this whole movie is a big fucking mess. But anyways, the plot twist of this entire thing, when Trevor gifted the box to Kirsty and had her open it, which, Kirsty, what the fuck are you doing? Like, girl, you don't have to open the box. What are you doing? Like, no one's forcing you. Chuck it out a fucking window or something. But anyways, she meets up with the Cenobites again, but she offers them a trade-off, 5 souls in exchange for her own. Oh, okay. So she was the one that was killing all of these people that Trevor thought died but didn't. And they're actually all dead because she sacrificed their souls to the Cenobites. And actually, Trevor didn't just drive them off of the bridge. She actually shot him in the face. And everyone around him is actually just investigating his death as a drowning or a suicide. But in fact, Kirsty was the one who's behind it the whole time. Wow. Also, it's revealed that every character that Trevor has interacted with, who seemingly doesn't exist or isn't relevant, was actually just an officer investigating his drowning, and everyone is just reimagined as people in his head, when in reality, they're all just cops like poking at his dead body with a stick. Now, obviously, this plan to frame Trevor is probably gonna fucking fail anyways, because they're gonna find Kirsty's prints on the fucking gun and just know from the autopsy like he didn't shoot himself and that Kirsty did it. But you know what? It doesn't matter, because this movie is sort of just running off of its own farts at this point. It's trying to be all artsy-fartsy, like, we're so smart for making our story go out of order, but you're not smart, you're confusing me, and my brain hurts, and I'm just really sad now. This movie has a straight-up 0% on Rotten Tomatoes, and to be fair, the only reason it's at 0% is because not a lot of people have reviewed this movie, so it's not like that's saying very much. It's just that no one watched this movie. Except for me. It's far too random and disjointed to be scary, and there is way too much sex for my liking. Like, seriously, why does everyone want to fuck this absolute dweeb? I am absolutely sick of all of these fake out deaths. They are so fucking annoying. Look, I have never had amnesia in my life, but I don't think I'd be cutting in and out of memory so much that I don't know where the fuck I am anymore. After a while of just like killing off Trevor and then having him show up somewhere else and be completely fine, I just kind of like stopped giving a shit. It didn't feel like there were any stakes in the movie, especially the end twist where it's revealed that he's been dead the whole time. And all of these fake out deaths and hypotheticals were just to kind of like fuck with his like ghost or whatever. Also, what the fuck were the Cenobites even doing? They apparently don't even need you specifically to solve the box in order for them to hunt you down. Like, reminder, Trevor never solved the box or anything. It was all Kirsty, so what the fuck are they doing, like, fucking hunting this poor dude down who just got shot in the face? But honestly, there is little to no screen time with them that I just have nothing to really say. Remember when the other Cenobite goons had like a presence, you know, a proper introduction, something? Yeah, I miss that a lot actually, because who the fuck are these guys? Like, don't get me wrong, I don't hate the idea of like following a Cenobite victim who like has no memory of like what the hell's going on and is actually dead the whole time. I guess that's an idea. Like, I don't hate the idea of someone like solving the box and then suffering with amnesia, and so they have to like figure out what's going on whilst being chased by the Cenobites, and they don't remember like who these things are and why they're chasing them. That I think can work. That's totally doable. But I just don't like this. And, you know, given the title of our next installment, I could only imagine it's probably not gonna get any better from here. Watching Hellraiser Deader made me realize a couple things that I haven't really made a comment on yet, but I will now since I think this film like really highlights this issue. I missed the labyrinth. I really missed the labyrinth. We had 3 movies thus far that has utilized more of like a personal hell with the Cenobites than the fucking labyrinth, and I kind of missed this, right? Or at the very least, like, have them come to you through that opening, right? I miss that opening. That opening was so cool, and it's just not here anymore, and it kind of just makes all these movies feel really bland now. Now they just appear to be completely trapped inside the lament configuration. Like, the lament configuration used to act like a key to the Cenobite world, but now it just acts like a fucking Pokeball.
Who's that Pokemon? It's
We'll tear your soul apart.
Also, I miss when the Cenobites, like, did stuff. Pinhead still does all of the stuff, but I miss when the other Cenobites were like a threat and not just statues that stand next to Pinhead to make him look cooler. I mean, to be fair, it seems like the only Cenobite that really does stuff in general, like in this entire franchise, is just Pinhead. Like, it's kind of just standard practice now that the other Cenobites are just kind of here to serve cunt. I really gotta stop saying that. Like, my family watches these videos, and I'm starting to reach my limit of parental disappointment. This movie takes those things that I miss and absolutely refuses to give them to me. Instead, what it gives me is everything I hate about these movies, and that made me not even want to pay attention. Like, low-key, when I was watching this movie, this whole outfit, like, came in the same day I was watching this movie, so I was just trying all of this out and just kind of fucking around with it, then I actually was paying attention to the movie. Like, I know what happens, like, don't get me wrong, don't doubt me, I did watch it. Kinda. But by this point, I was just so tired from Hellseeker that when it came to Deader, I just kind of turned my brain off and just kind of was like, I don't even really care anymore. I just want to watch a stupid movie. Like, I couldn't physically give an ounce of a fuck. You know what I also fucking hate that these movies do now? This was the issue in Hellseeker. It's with all the fake out deaths. It was so fucking annoying to have people die and then miraculously they're fine the next scene. And this movie does it even worse because the entire concept of this film is that there is a cult that is cultivated around the box and the Cenobites, and they're called the Deaders because they effectively kill themselves, and then this guy named Winters kisses them back to life or something. Why does every single movie feel the need to change what the fuck the box does? Why does every fucking movie change the powers of the Cenobites and the box? I am so sick of this. Please, for the love of God, go back to the we have such sights to show you shit, because this is just getting ridiculous. Our main character, Amy, is an investigative journalist who wrote the massively popular Insider of How to Be a Crack Whore. I am slowly debating if I even want to continue with this, but I have to. I said I would review all of them, and this corset hurts. Her boss, Charles, shows her a videotape of a girl shooting herself and coming back to life, and he sends her to Budapest to uncover the story. This is actually the first Hellraiser that doesn't take place in America, which is interesting because Clive Barker is British, and it's only with this movie that he has no involvement with that we finally get to see a British guy.
You are lucky to have a boss like me. Once again, I have saved your small but relatively shapely behind.
Amy tracks down the sender of a package addressed to Marla, who for some reason Amy treats like they've known each other forever, when I'm pretty sure this is the first time she's ever even heard of this woman. Not that that needs any explanation because Marla is already dead. Amy steals a package from Marla that contains a final recorded tape and the puzzle box. Within the tape, Marla warns the sender to not open the box, and then Amy immediately ignores this. You know what? I feel like I would survive a Hellraiser movie. No joshin', I really would. Because I have two things that most of these dumbasses don't seem to possess. Common sense and the desire to live. Kind of. Like, if I found this weird puzzle box from a crime scene or the site of a car crash or near someone's suicide, I would not fuck with that box. If I was given a tape that tells me not to open the damn box, I'm not gonna do that. If I am working a job where my boss shows me a video of someone shooting themselves in the face, I'm quitting. Like, I'm not sticking around to see what happens. Like, as far as I'm concerned, I just watched the suicide tape and that bitch is dead. So usually what happens now that the box is opened is that Amy is gonna start hallucinating and she starts seeing like all these fake out deaths and Cenobites chase her and she's experiencing like her own personal hell, right? But none of this is actually real. It's all just happening within her own head. Except it's not. For some reason, everything that happens to Amy is actually manifesting in the real world. And I just... Why? But the biggest sin of this fucking movie, the biggest fucking sin of this movie is the fact that it continues with the fucking Le Marchand bullshit.
Your lineage is that of a craftsman, a maker of toys. You should have stayed in the family business. I sacrificed my mortal self to that box.
It's mine now. Belongs to me.
But that's where you're wrong. Painfully wrong. We belong to it.
And now the big plot twist of this movie and how this Winter guy is able to bring people back from the dead is because he is a merchant descendant. His descendant is Philippe Le Marchand, the creator of the Lament configuration. Okay, so I already explained why this whole fucking French guy thing is so fucking stupid with the box. However, I don't hate the idea that one of their descendants would start a cult around the box. I think that's pretty funny, but I cannot with this whole Le Marchand thing. Like, I understand that that was something that was in the original book, but guys, not everything from the book needs to be adapted completely. Even Clive didn't do that with his first movie, and he wrote the fucking book. Okay, so to be completely fair, if you read up on who Philippe Le Marchand is as like a fictional book character and in the comics, he's definitely seen as like a more of like an urban legend type and is more infamous and evil than in the movies. I think these depictions, he's actually kind of cool, but this whole like continuous bloodline thing is just so... I don't want to fucking talk about Bloodline again. I can go the rest of my life without thinking that that movie ever happened. There's this one part of the movie that I thought was fucking hilarious, and it's the part where Amy is trying to find out where the debtors are, so she has to find this guy named Joey. Not this Joey, but... I kind of wish, you know? But it's this Australian guy who apparently runs an entire train car to himself where a bunch of people just have sex, do drugs, and party. And I think the idea of that happening on a train is so fucking funny. A part of this movie that really bothers me is all these flashbacks of Amy as a child being... I assume physically and sexually abused by her father. I don't know if they were going for that. I just don't like that what this guy's face looks like when he's doing this. I don't like that. That's uncomfortable. But the idea of this is that Winter believes that the only people that are capable of opening the box and entering into the Cenobites portal are extremely traumatized people. And I guess he just really needs Amy specifically because she's apparently been through the worst trauma ever or something. This is why Winter recruits a bunch of like suicidal people into his cult, because he wants to recruit one that can actually solve the box and join his cult to enter into the Cenobites domain. Because although he himself is a descendant of the maker of the puzzle box, he himself can't open the fucking thing. Imagine getting shafted by the fucking French. And they're your own family too. Like, oh, Winter, buddy, you are cooked. Like, I'm afraid you done fucked up. somewhere. I don't know how, but you just did. And this is what I mean when I say that Amy's personal hell affects the world around her, and it's not just all in her head, because the movie ends with her killing herself, and that somehow closes the box, and the Cenobites explode, and this results in a building collapse, and it gets reported on the news like it's a real thing that happened? Like, apparently none of this was something that was going on in Amy's own personal hell world? She does die, like that is how the movie ends. It's just that I feel like it's kind of par for the course that, like, the main characters of all these movies, like, die, I guess. Like, none of the main characters of these 3 movies have a happy ending, which I don't hate. I just miss, like, our last boy-girl, like, trope from the originals. But yeah, anyways, Deader was... I do have good things to say about it. Like, I like the idea of the cult. I feel like an occult setting for the puzzle box and the Cenobites does work great, especially with, like, the whole Leviathan religion thing. I think that would work out if, like, humans were, like, wanting to dedicate themselves to the Leviathan as well and not just the Cenobites. Like, that idea, I think, can work. I like the look of all of these guys now that I can get, like, a clear look at them. Like, unlike the last movie, I didn't know who the fuck they were. Yeah, that's kind of all, that's kind of it. That's all the good things I had to say. Oh my god, this movie was bad. I think the biggest issue though, like aside from like the acting or the story or the characters or like how the film looks technically, Deader is just really fucking boring. Like, I was falling asleep with this one, like doing other shit. It was like that boring. It was way better than Hellseeker. Like, this one's coherent, but does that even really matter if I'm just sitting here like this? That is also not a good sign. I'm so fucking tired. Can I please, for the love of God, or the Leviathan or something, can I get a good fucking movie? So something really weird happened with the releases of both this movie and the last one. So you see, Hellraiser, Hellworld, and Deader were directed by the same guy, Rick Boda. Rick also directed Hellseeker, and 2 of the 3 of his films I did not like, so this fills me with so much confidence. However, both of these movies were released at the same time in the year 2005, 2 months apart. No, I am not kidding. So, how did this happen? Well, Deader was filmed in Romania, and because of that, Dimension Films had issues with Deader. It was originally scripted in 2000 with an entirely different concept in mind. The idea for Deader was to originally have it be called Hellraiser Lament, and it was supposed to film in the United Kingdom. However, the Weinsteins wanted a sequel that would expand on the first 4 films, but completely ignore Inferno, but more akin to something like The Ring or Pulse. They decided to film in Romania to save on costs. However, filming in Romania led to a contractual stipulation, which demanded for another installment. Both Hellraisers were filmed in Romania at the same time in 2002 and wouldn't come out until 2005. This explains why the original story for Hellworld actually wasn't meant to be a Hellraiser movie. They suddenly had a contractual obligation to make, so they just took the concept from a short story and somehow made it Hellraiser related. And then they both came out the same year, and both films have a 0% on Rotten Tomatoes, which is fucking stupid because this movie is fucking incredible. I have not gone insane. I am being so genuine with you guys when I say this. This movie fucking slaps. After the fucking slogfest that was Deader and the brain-breaking experience of Hellseeker, I finally have a good Hellraiser movie. It's hot garbage, but it is my hot garbage, goddammit. This was the most fun I had watching a movie. It is genuinely the funniest fucking movie I have seen in a hot minute, and I want to talk about the entire thing. Strap yourselves in. This one's gonna be fun. The movie starts with a man screaming into the sky, and we get the beginning credit roll during a funeral. Our 4 friends, Mike, Derek, Allison, and Chelsea, are attending the funeral of their friend Adam, who was the screaming man at the beginning of the movie. There's also this guy, Jake, who is low-key blaming them for Adam's death, and they all agree that what led to his death was something called Hellworld.
Christ. How many times you had to tell a guy it's just a stupid game? Hey, We were all addicted to Hellworld, man.
Hey, so is anyone gonna stop her from opening up the casket? I feel like this is a closed casket funeral for a reason. Is everyone just gonna sit there and do nothing, or are they just gonna let her open that? Oh my god! It was all a dream. Except, like, Adam is actually dead. So, like, I guess she dreamed about something that happened 2 years ago?
What's up, Mike?
What?
I paid a grip $100 for this thing on the internet. Didn't it scare you at all?
Mike, Cenobites don't exist. And even if they did, I never opened the Le Mans configuration.
The what?
Open the Le Mans configuration.
Okay. I guess I need to explain. So, in this storyline, the Hellraiser movies are canon. I think. But basically, Pinhead is like a marketable brand thing due to the popularity of a computer game called Hellworld, which is an online role-playing game. They turned the Cenobites and the Hellraiser movies into an online RPG. They made Hellworld World of Warcraft. What was this Henry's idea? Did he do that? And yeah, that is Henry Cavill. What of it? What the fuck do you want from me? What do you want me to do about it? I just watched a movie that turned all of these other movies into an RPG. What am I supposed to do now?
Calm down, Lazy. It's really not that serious.
Oh, really? First of all, don't tell me to fucking calm down. Second of all, he is wearing a Pinhead t-shirt in a Hellraiser movie. I'm okay. I'm fine. I said I liked this movie, but I acknowledge that these outbursts probably don't help me. Where was I? Oh yeah, video game! So can you guys tell that this movie came out in 2005? How about now?
Reality check, we should have grown out of this by now.
Reality check, we're going.
The game has an exclusive game event where if you solve the digital puzzle blocks, you get an invite to a Hellworld party hosted by this guy. Is this the creator of Hellworld? No. How is he able to do this? I don't know. Who is this guy? We're not there yet. Hold on. So, all of the friends attend the party, including Jake, who is a bit more distant from all of them nowadays because he still kind of blames them all for killing Adam, which I don't really see how, considering that, as we find out, Adam burned himself alive. So, I don't know, man. I just feel like it's kind of fucked up for you to, like, blame your ex-friends for his suicide, especially since they were all pretty upset at the funeral, and it's been, like, 2 years? Like, I'm not dismissing your feelings. I'm just saying, like, it's probably not good for, like, the mental, like, or the spiritual, if you believe in that. I don't know. It's okay, though, because he's just here to meet up with some online pussy.
So, Jake, are you here with some new friends?
It's a friend.
A girl.
You sound surprised.
I'm kind of surprised because you kind of look like an incel. The group is brought into and accustomed by the host, who welcomes them with drinks, perfumes, and babies in jars, and then just straight up kind of stabs Chelsea in the arm. He's very in character. The host holds these Hellworld parties as a way to celebrate the game and invite a bunch of players to hang out outside of the game. So basically, he's running a Hellraiser convention in his house. There's a bunch of activities like drinking, dancing, wearing these masks with phone numbers to anonymously hook up with everybody, except everyone wears the mask on their head, so that kind of defeats the purpose, and get decapitated in a saw trap. I can't fucking escape you, god damn it! Bro really built a giant-ass puzzle box model for the occasion. It doesn't work or anything, I just think it's a really cool decoration. Strange things start to happen to the group, like Jake here suddenly realizes that nobody can see him. And then he has sex with a nun. Honestly, that sounds like a pretty good time, especially if you're someone like me. Antisocial, but really horny. Chelsea gets locked inside of a room, and as she calls for the police to help her out, they also can't seem to see her either. So Chelsea and Jake are seemingly invisible to the rest of the party. Meanwhile, their friends are fucked. This is Allison, and she's fucking British.
Oh, I'm enjoying myself, Jake. I'm not hurting anybody.
The only way you guys ever enjoy yourselves is when you're hurting someone.
You never change, do you?
I told my date about you guys, so don't be surprised if she's not exactly friendly to you.
You are not guilting me into having a crummy time tonight.
She enters into a room that she's not supposed to be in and gets trapped in this saw blade chair. Now, I think this trapped is rigged against her, guys. What do you think? I don't know. Is the host a jigsaw apprentice? So Allison fucking dies, and all of her friends are seemingly none the wiser. Like, no, seriously. Chelsea literally hears her screaming, walks up to the door of the room she's in, tries to break in, and then she notices that it's locked, and she just gives up. Great. This is a great group of friends here. Meanwhile, Derek is dancing on the dance floor when he suddenly suffers from an asthma attack. He drops his inhaler and it gets kicked down into a grate on the floor that leads back into the basement. You know, in any other circumstance, he would not have lasted this long if he was actually having this severe of an asthma attack. In fact, I don't know if he'd be able to push through, like going through a crowd to go down some stairs to go into the basement to unscrew a grate and then manage to get his inhaler in time without him just, you know, croaking. You know, it's probably because they wanted him to get decapitated by Pinhead. I love this scene, by the way. Just Pinhead cleavering a dude's head off is so fucking funny. Mike here is incredibly horny. He tries to hook up with Chelsea, but then says the most insensitive shit ever.
You're still holding a torch for a guy who you're never gonna get a second chance with. He's dead, Chelsea. Move on.
You know what, Mike? Have a great time tonight. Go fuck somebody. But when you sober up, I expect an apology.
So, I have a question. What is the dynamic of this friend group? Because I was led to believe that Chelsea and Mike are together since, you know, they kiss in the first scene in the movie, and that Allison and Derek are a thing, but apparently they're not, since Derek and Mike just go off and hit up on some random women and fuck other women, and Chelsea and Allison, they don't really seem to care. So I guess they're not dating, but then, like, Adam and Chelsea, they were dating, but he's dead now. But then, what about Jake? Because Jake and Chelsea seem to have a thing for each other by the end of the movie. But also, like, they've only had, like, 4 interactions throughout this whole movie, and for most of those interactions, those two fucking don't like each other. In another script that was probably scrapped, they all would have just been fucking each other, let's be for real. Mike starts hooking up with this one girl in a mask who gives him head in the middle of the party. After blowing Chelsea off and then blowing his load, he starts going ham on this girl until she locks him back up in the basement. Spooked, he tries to rationalize that everything's just a prop and that none of this is real, until he finds Derek's body. Why didn't you move out of the way? What are you doing? You know, I know that Henry is like 40 now, and he's hot now, but like 22-year-old Henry Cavill. What? No. Oh shit! No, get your fucking dog back! So all that's left is Jake and Chelsea, who sort of make up over the phone those really ugly feelings they had about Adam's death. And with that, it's time to figure out what the hell is going on? Why are their friends disappearing? What's going on with this party? And most importantly, who is the host? There are a few things that we've seen that would indicate that maybe the host is working with Pinhead and the Cenobites. Every time a friend of this group dies, he's outside digging a grave. And with Allison, he just backs out of the scene and then reappears as Pinhead. And you know, Pinhead has disguised himself as humans before, so it's not impossible that maybe the host is Pinhead. Maybe Hellworld is just a new gateway to get people into the Cenobites' domain. Maybe this whole party is just an interpersonal hell of all of these characters. I mean, that would explain why no one can see them, right? Also, the host knows an awful lot about Adam and probably knew him personally, as he kept a keepsake that Adam made, which is a replica of the puzzle box in the game, which honestly, this is a pretty accurate depiction of like fandom culture. Pinhead truly sees me for who I am. Like, I'm not crazy for dressing up like this for a stupid video on the internet. He understands me. So obviously, everything is pointing to the fact that Jake and Chelsea are in the Cenobites' world, and that's why no one can see them, and that's why all their friends are dying, because this is just an interpersonal hell. Problem: neither one of these two opened the box. So what other explanation is there? Here, let's play a game. A guessing game. I'm gonna give you some options as to what you think the twist of the movie is. Are you ready? Is it A. The gameplay is a gateway and solving the digital puzzle box is the same as the real thing. B. The host solved the puzzle box and he is now trading in these friends' lives for his own. Or C. They were drugged the whole time. If you guessed C, then you're probably feeling as disappointed as I am.
Hellworld never really even existed. It was in your mind the whole time. Even this very moment. You and your friends have been 6 feet under since this party began. Sodium amytal is a drug that induces a highly impressionable trance-like euphoria. Once you were drugged, you were under my spell. I buried you, each in separate coffins with cell phone at hand. It was through these cell phones I could communicate subliminal suggestions. Your own fertile imaginations did the rest.
The entire party, this entire night, never happened. The host drugged and buried them alive so that they can play out this entire thing in their heads. Fucking what? And why did he do all of this? Because the host is Adam's father, who is getting revenge on the people who killed his son, even though it was a suicide and he wasn't even at the funeral. Like, why the fuck do you even care? Also, what?
There were a few unexpected casualties along the way. Allison severely gouged herself trying to claw off her imaginary neck device and bled to death. Derek's asthma took him out. And Mike, he died of good old-fashioned drop-dead fear.
Okay, first of all, there is so much wrong with everything you just said. So you're telling me that all of these characters' deaths were because they died while buried alive and on drugs, and none of this was even real. There were no Cenobites, no Pinhead. This guy just whispered sweet nothing in their ears through cell phones, and that is how all of this happened. What the fuck did you drug them with? Cause goddamn. Also, what the fuck do you mean by unexpected casualties? What does that mean?
There were a few unexpected casualties along the way.
What, so was your plan not to let them die? So, what was the fucking plan? Just like bury them alive and then do what? Like, you want revenge for these people killing your son as you believe they did. And like, you don't just kill them outright? Like, why not? What would be the point of burying someone alive unless you intend to kill them? That literally makes no fucking sense. But anyways, the police do eventually dig them back up. And yes, the other friends are in fact dead. Rest in peace, Gerald, I guess. This movie also gives us 3 endings. One where these characters are found, and I guess the police are like, well, we don't know who called about you. I guess it was Adam's fucking ghost, but you know, who knows? I guess we'll never know. Then Chelsea and Jake drive away into the sunset and are spooked suddenly by the host in their backseat, which does nothing, and I'm not even sure what that was even for. And finally, the movie officially ends with the host opening the box and...
Surprise, shawty!
The Cenobites and Pinhead do actually exist, and the Chatterer cuts up the host with probably the coolest weapon, but also like the worst CGI I've ever fucking seen in my life, and that's it. The end. Man, what a fucking trip. That was genuinely so much fun. I laughed, I was baffled, I was bamboozled. It was endlessly entertaining. The fact that people haven't given this a better score is a shame, because this is so much fun. It's like a good, so bad it's good film, and I enjoyed like every single character in this film. Even though the idea of Hellraiser existing as a canon property in its own universe is like insane, I think it's really well executed here because they just kind of treat the entire premise as a fucking joke, and it's hilarious. If I had a nickel for every time a horror franchise recognizes its own canon, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it feels weird that it happened twice. You people, you need to go watch this movie. If you're a Hellraiser fan, not even if you're a Hellraiser fan, if you just love watching stupid, funny movies, give this one a go. It made me go slightly insane, but like, it's a good insane, I promise. Listen, if these movies aren't gonna be good anymore, at least let them be fucking clever in some way, or funny. I am begging you. What a strong end to the 2000s direct-to-DVD era. There were some lows, and they were quite low. But I'm personally really excited to see what comes next. We're on to the cinematic era, movies from 2010 onwards. And honestly, I'm really excited to see what a modern version of Pinhead is gonna look like. I'm actually really hyped to see all the new ideas that they have for Hell.
Oh no.